All right, welcome. We're going to get started here. Welcome to the new year. We're going to get started here. Make sure that I got everything all plugged in. Let me turn the. We are heroes. All right. I know I got to get a better sound system, but that's okay. Hey, welcome, guest, soldier in the making. Happy New Year. Welcome to your Hour of Power, your solution interaction podcast. Get in, buckle up, turn down all distractions as I'm about to do here with this music. Grab a pen. Did you invite a friend? I am your host, Soldier of Self Mastery, out of Stockton, California, Coach Santos, founder, visionary, the world's number one. So, first of all, remember to Soldier Scribe and turn your notifications to all if you are new. And I want to remind you that gambling is a lie. It's a fry. It will make you die. Time to decide and let go of your pride. Let's get started here. Oh boy, there's the printer again. All right. We are live. We're broadcasting here via Facebook. Shout out to Facebook, LinkedIn. Shout out to LinkedIn and YouTube. So we are Coach Jim. Hey, Coach Jim is with us. It's been last week I missed the podcast. We're in preparation to prepare for this week. I have a funeral coming. My father passed away last Saturday. And it's been, I don't know, it's kind of bittersweet. I didn't like to watch him suffer. You know, it's really hard to watch somebody suffer. So it isn't a year, great things we're working on, right? Just like you, are you working on great things? Once again, gambling, any form of gambling, whether it's addiction, it's all a lie. So let's get started. Jim, you're welcome to come on the camera. Coach Jim, all the way from Tucson, Arizona, and The Rock from Brockton. Looks like we've got an audience that's building here. We're going to tackle a topic today. We're just going to talk a little bit about fixing what is broken. Fixing what is broken, because we definitely don't want to go in this way, right? We want to be able to leave this planet at least somewhat moving in the right direction, even though that's not an easy thing to do. It is possible. So the camera's open. Jim, you're welcome. We're going to be talking about what's broken, and hopefully we'll come up with some solutions here to help you on the other side. Some things that are working. In particular, I'm really going to focus on one life hack, and hopefully you'll take some notes. As I mentioned earlier, you bring a pen, make sure you turn down all distractions. Let's get started here. 45 minutes is going to go by very quick. And we have a proverb that we're going to be putting on here. Jim, I'm going to bring you on the screen here. I don't know if you can hear me. If you can hear me, wave your hand. We're going to be getting started here. Let me go ahead and read the proverb and get that cemented so that you can hopefully get some anchor going in your life, right? We need anchors, man, especially as we go into, we're fastly approaching the year 2024, by the way, even though we're in 23. All right, John chapter 8, verse 31, 32 says, then Jesus said to those Jews which believed on him, if you continue in my word, then are you my disciples. If you continue in my word, then are you my disciples. And you shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. The truth shall make you free. All right, we're going to bring Jim on board here. And I want to say a shout out to those of you that are, once again, if you're new to this broadcast, I'm going to encourage you to Soldier Scribe, right? Subscribe and make sure that your notifications are turned to all. So whenever I go live, you'll get first dibs. Shout out to the UK, John. He's been doing very well with keeping up with no gambling. He just sent me a message today via Facebook. and he's no longer gambling. And interesting fella. And I also want to send a shout out to those of you that have donated financially. I got a nice donation from someone in, let me see, in Chicago today, Nicola. I really appreciate it. I don't know if you're watching, but I thank you for that donation. That's going to go towards a good cause. And if you put something into this ministry, into this mission, whether you come on the camera, whether you send a nice text, or you communicate and ask a question, you're going to receive something in return. I believe this is one of the most powerful, life changing communities available right now on the internet. So, for 35, 45 minutes, we're going to do our best to help you get on your way, recovery, so that you stay one more day. Hey, Jim,
Hi Santos, how are you doing? Happy New
I'm
Year.
working on super fantastic. Let me do something real quick here. Can you hear me? Am I coming in through really good?
Yes, I can hear you fine.
Okay, perfect. Let me turn up the volume here just a little bit. And right on. So thank you. Oh, Laura, hey, welcome. Let me see. Ann Carr, hello, everyone. Good to see you. Laura, thank you for your presence. She always inspires me, her comments. There you go. Jim West, thank you for being on board here. I like that power arrow there. And let me see, The Rock from Brockton. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Well, we're going to be taking on this topic, Jim, and you know, we're going to be talking about to fix what's broken because I definitely don't want to continue going forward this year with what we had going on last year that was not fixed. Now, I want to say
Yeah,
this: you're not broken. First of all, you are not broken as a human. Okay, you're fully capable, but there's a pattern, right? There is a pattern that is running or operating, and your behavior, there's something broken there. And that's what we're going to be talking about on this episode. How can we fix what's broken? Jim, I'm going to give you a shot here,
yeah.
and you can
Well,
you
I
can
mean,
kind of open up the floor here.
fixing
Side.
what's
Go
broken.
ahead.
First, you have to admit and realize, something needs to change. There's a lot of things that we can reflect upon last year and the years before, and if we don't address these things, um, it's going to be the same, man. It's going to be the same. And we
More
can
of the
focus
same.
on things that are broken, but we can also focus on things. We can also focus on where we want to be. You know, what do we want to be? Maybe we need to leave a place in our lives that's just not doing it for us right now. There's something that we like to change because we have to understand that life is better out there. There is a better life. My condolences to your father who passed away. I been noticing a lot of people, famous people who passed away in the last year, and it just reminds me that life is very short, and um, you know, things will go by real quick, and we have to ask ourselves, what kind of life do we want to live in the next years that we have left? You know, and we have a choice. We have a choice. We can live a better life. We just need to kind of analyze the situation right now, what's going on, and where would we like to be. You know, instead of like staying in the negative spot, where would we like to be? In a year, or 2 years, and 5 years, and 10 years. So, I mean, I had COVID last week. It was no fun. Man, that was no fun.
Oh boy.
Yeah, it's and when you lose your health,
Yeah.
when you lose your health and you lose your strength and you lose your ability to get things done, it really puts things into perspective. It's like, well, now I'm getting better, but yeah, it's something that I don't want to take it for granted anymore. I don't want to take what the good things that we have for granted, because when you lose something like your health, man, life sucks. you know. And I think a lot of
Yeah, that is true wealth.
yeah,
Your health is true wealth. Because if you have, you can have all the money in the world, but you don't have your health, or you start losing your health, people will pay just about anything to try to recover.
I think
So we
mental
should
health
be
is
working
important
on
too.
pre, yeah, that's right, mental
Yeah,
health. So we should
mental
work
health,
on preemptive,
right?
preemptive. But you said something that you must decide, right? If the only way that you can fix something that's broken is you have to decide that you're going to fix it. And we all have the power of decision. Sadly, we take it for granted. I was listening to a teacher the other day that said um, that liars never heal. They could be in the gym, they could eat wheatgrass protein, and they could do all kinds of things, but liars don't heal. A person that tells the truth, or at least attempts to tell the truth, he could be feeding on cat food, and he'll be in better shape than that person that is not being honest with him or herself. So, deciding is the thing that we need to do. And then there comes the responsibility, the accountability with that decision. That's where most people fail. And it is a 90-day span, right? Usually, when we begin to go in a certain direction, we do good for 2 months, 3 months, and typically 90 days is about, and I'm sure you've heard this, Jim, that 90 days is typically the determining factor, if you will. That's once you get beyond 90 days, man, you're on track.
Yeah, yeah. It's basically a discipline, and we said it before, right? Moment by moment, micro moment. You said that we have to decide, and we have to have a reason why. You know, and oftentimes, we can find that reason that'll help us change. I mean, like losing your home or not being able to pay your bills. If you're caught in that gambling trap, you know, that can really make you afraid. It can scare you. You know, if you can look at the reality of the situation where you can possibly lose something, that we've taken for granted, and that a wake up call is something that we need to get us back on track. Um,
You can't fix what you don't see,
it's correct. You
right?
can't.
Imagine trying to fix something that, I mean, that's ridiculous, isn't it? You're trying to fix something that you don't see it, or you haven't really agreed to yourself. And by the way, who's the one that can determine what's broken in your life? Is it your
Yeah,
coach? Is it your counselor? Is it your best friend? Is it the psychiatrist? Who can really determine what's actually broken on your journey?
it's the person you shave with in the mirror. That's the person. I mean, some people are happy and content, but there are serious things that happen in life where it can be life changing in a negative way. I mean, health, money, you know, relationships, all those things can be taken for granted. Little by little, the disaster accumulates, right? All the errors accumulate until, all of a sudden you don't have your friends and family anymore. All of a sudden you don't have your place to live anymore. All of a sudden, you have cancer, you got a disease, you're trapped, right? And you know, and I think it's a big thing is denial and fear. We don't want to face the a lot of times we don't want to face reality because it's just too painful. It's like, well, yeah, I have this problem. Now what? I don't have the confidence in myself to find a solution. So, all the times we just put our blanket over our head, stick our head in the ground. and we just deny that there's a problem. We deny there's a problem.
That's the sad reality right there. It's
You know?
pride. I believe it's a strong form of pride that will keep you from fixing what's broken. Sometimes we don't want to let others know. It is a shame. It's painful, like you're saying.
Well, I mean, like you can know the
But
truth to yourself too. If you can't accept that, I mean, it's like how devastating is it when you don't even have control of your life? You know, you're supposed to have control of your life, and if you don't have control, if you're messing up, that's a big hit to one's self confidence. A person's self esteem. It's like I can't even handle my life. What good is my life? I don't know what to do. And
yeah, I want to go back to. I want to go back to. There's something that Rock from Brockton stated, but I want to look at this Gabino here for a minute because we are talking about fixing what's broken. See, you're not broken, Gabino. You're not broken. Um, you still struggle with alcoholism. Our minds and our emotions are very strong. Yet, if we don't get around the right sources, the right community, we pray to what's broken. You must identify it. You must accept it. This is what's broken. Now, either you want to fix it, you're going to fix it, or you're just going to speak about it. I'm not here to offend you in any way, but we really need to face the truth of the reality because we're right now where we can fix a lot of things and we can fix them very quickly if we are around the proper energy, if we're in a community. And I can tell you, this is one of the most powerful communities, not because I'm here and started it, but I really feel that because I notice in my own life, there's still many things that are broken, right? There's still many things that are not working to my favor. And right now, I can tell you that belief is not working to your favor. And we're going to get into this a little bit more here because we're going to talk about this life hack that will begin to help you if if you accept it and if you're willing to take a little bit of a risk and do your homework. Okay, we're going to be talking about ST. I'm going to bring that up. Um, but pride is a killer. We don't want to look bad in people. Sins, if you will. And I'm not saying that you have to confess your sins to everybody, but there comes a time where you really have to open up and deal with yourself because you know what it is that's broken. And I'm glad that you're bringing out and you're saying that you're struggling with alcoholism. That's why I'm taking the time to address this issue. You should be taking notes because you're getting thoughts that come into your mind. And those thoughts, as this podcast is really your solution podcast. That's why we're here, right? We're looking for solutions. Maybe it's a money problem that's broken. Man, I need to make extra $300 a month. Okay. While we're here in this community, you're going to get ideas popping into your mind. Write them down. And the best time, Jim, you know when the best time to take action is? Not a
right
trick
now,
question here, by the way.
taking
Right
action
now.
is
When
right
you
now.
feel inspired and motivated, because when you go back, right, when this program is over, you're going to go right back, right? It's like you're going back to the old world. Right now we're in this cocoon-like thing, right? We're in here, we're looking for solutions, we're coming up with ideas, and maybe some of my ideas or what I share with you may not be what you're looking for, but what comes up to your mind that you can write on paper, oh yeah, man, I got this idea. That's your idea. That's your belief system. That's your powerful mind at work. And what do? We take it for granted. We don't write down any notes. Uh, that's not the way it's going to work. If you struggle with alcoholism, there are ways, there are paths. But once again, as we started out, and Jim said this, you have to decide. This is where you want to fight. You have to put skin in the game. right? You didn't become an alcoholism or you didn't become an alcoholic. I know I didn't become an alcoholic just overnight. It was a little bit of a process. And some of you are a lot faster thinking than I am. You're a lot smarter. In some areas, you're a lot smarter. You have to tap into that. Go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's very important to look at the context of life right now. I mean, we already gone through. Was it 1/24th? I think. Can we say that 1/24th of this year is gone? I think. Is
Mm-hmm.
that right?
I would
Uh,
say, in fact, we're fastly approaching 24.
yeah. So I mean, it's like time goes by quick. You have to look at your life. How many years you lived? How many more years, good years, do we have left? And what do we want to do with that time? I mean, there has to be something that kind of shakes us up, shocks us. We have something broken in our life, and we have to connect. You know, the things that we don't like, or the things that we like, but we can't get there, right? Because of the problems that this brokenness that we have in ourselves, causes. So finding out,
Mm-hmm.
what that big problem is, and we have to tie some emotion to it, like alcoholism, right? Uh, he needs to figure out, what are the devastating things that drinking, problem drinking, has brought into my life. How did it make my family feel? You know, my like it's like there's tears in the family and friends' eyes. The way I acted in front of everyone. How sick I got, going to the hospital. Just really stopping and thinking about, you know, just the negative things. But Santos, a lot of the problems that we have, it's much deeper. You know what I mean? A lot of the things that we see on
Yes.
the surface is just it's superficial stuff. And I mean, to get to the root of the problem, we got to dig deep. We have to decide, there's an underlying problem that's going on in all of us, and
We
sometimes I
all
think
have a dark shadow. We all have a
that's the
dark
scary
shadow.
thing.
We can call it sin. The Bible refers to it as a sin, a spot of sin. We missed the mark. That's what sin means. It means that we've missed the mark. It's like we're shooting an arrow, but we're not hitting the target. The Bible kind of connects sin, and we've termed it as the dark shadow, the dark side. And you must work every day overtime if you truly want victory. But number one, it goes back to this, and to go into something here that's going to help all of us. It helps me every single day. It's helped me the lifestyle that I was in. You must decide. You must decide. The proverb says that a double-minded man. Imagine it, Jim. If you saw a man, well, I mean, we've seen it. People that have two heads. We've seen these ladies. I don't think I've ever seen a man in a body, right? But I've seen women that have two heads. And imagine if they went back and forth with each other. No, they have to work together. Two heads in one body. It's kind of a weird thing, but they must work together in order to make through in life. And it's the same thing with us. If I can use that analogy, we are either two heads working against each other. And it isn't until you make a decision, right? It wasn't until I made a decision that gambling is a lie in my life. It wasn't until I really grasped that. Same thing with alcoholism, because I used to drink excessively, got me in a lot of trouble, almost cost my life numerous times. And I go back and I say, well, it's a decision, the power of decision. And pride is a tricky thing because it'll keep you. We all want to look good. I want to look as good as I can. Do my hair up. Maybe get a little bit of a workout, 5 minute workout before I come on screen. I want to look good, but the truth is, it's not about looking good on screen and just in front of others. We have to look good to ourselves. Like you said, the man in the mirror. You got to be willing to look at that man in the mirror. You won't do any of this. We won't do any of this unless we're completely decided. This is what I want. Or else we just keep getting more of what we were getting in 22 or 21. I don't know if that's what you want, but I definitely don't want that. And so go ahead, Jim, share. I'm going to bring up
Yeah,
something because I know we're already 25 minutes into this broadcast.
I think
Um,
an important question is, what does it mean to love yourself? What does it mean to really love yourself, to care about yourself? And I think that oftentimes we don't really think that about that question too much. What does it look like when I love myself, care about
mhm.
myself? To what extent? I mean, do I stand up for myself? If I'm afraid, do I do the job anyway, or do I run away? Do I procrastinate, or do I do the work? Do I ignore the problems I have? Is that loving myself? I'm wondering if we all ask that question and really understand how much do we care about ourselves? Because it's like sometimes we care more about other people than we care about ourselves. Sometimes we care more about what's happening on YouTube and TV to people, other people, and we don't
Mhm.
really care and give much thought about ourselves. I mean,
Yeah,
like,
we delude ourselves and other people. Well, I'm not that bad because look at him, that person's halfway naked walking across the street and getting drugged into a police car. That's never happened to me, but yet you're hemorrhaging, right? You're losing your finances, you're losing your relationships, and not too many people know it. But what happens after a little while begins to spill over. People begin to avoid you. Family run from you.
uh, maybe
And
it's not.
one of those is when you begin to lose a lot of money.
Yeah,
You lose a lot of money. But here's the thing. Let me see if I got this right. Said, or maybe I'm saying it, that you don't know what you don't know until you recognize what it is that you don't know. Makes sense?
yeah.
Because some of us will say, "Yeah, I got this, man. I can handle this," but yet you don't handle it because there's something missing. There's something missing. There's something that you need to get a hold of. There's something that you need to learn. There's something that you need to practice that you're not. So a key thing in recovery, I have found a very, very powerful key thing to recovery. I mentioned this earlier, ST, is your self-talk. We're going to kind of finish the broadcast a little bit here. We're not going to be a full hour, but about another 15 minutes. Um, what is self-talk, Jim? We talk to others. We can say all kinds of nice things in front of other people. But what is self-talk, and how does that impact what we would like to do, or how does self-talk fix or play a part in fixing what's broken in your life?
I
Is it
know
is it
that
something?
one of the things that I struggle with is like anxiety waking up. When the day comes, you know, uh, the mind can just fill itself up with a bunch of negative stuff. But I realize that if I can have like self talk, positive self talk, mantras, um, phrases, you know, uh, at the beginning of the day, right? You start um, you start changing your emotions, and
Mhm.
for me at least, the anxiety goes down, and I feel more positive, and I have a better outlook on life. It's easy to get caught up in negativity. One of the things that I'm trying to do is cut back on too much social media. There's just too much nonsense out there that just has nothing to do with my life. Nothing to do with my life. Just a bunch of noise. That can
Yeah,
just cause my
distractions.
mind to be distracted. Right. Um,
Mhm.
The person in the mirror is the most important person in the world, really. And that is the person that we need to focus on. We need to focus on what's going into our mind, what's coming out of our mouth. What are we thinking? What are we doing? What are we writing? What are we reflecting on? And just analyze. You know, um, I don't think that we're going to feel any better if we don't do the best job we can and try to improve upon that. If we just say this is good enough, you know, we're never going to bring our spirits up, I don't think. Um,
Yeah.
and it's important to start taking action. Action, I believe, really cures a lot of the negative feelings. We can gain our confidence. We can improve our outlook on life. We can improve our self talk too, because we can build up that momentum. Sometimes it just starts to, it starts out with that action of self talk. Start with positive talk, and let that move you into a better place, into better action, and it can go and snowball. And that's what we want.
Yeah. And again, you have to look at what your options are, what you have to work with, and they must work with your activities. Like I said earlier, with the 90 days, once you get past 90 days, once you get past 2 months or 90 days, man, you're building new, you're fixing what's broken. You are fixing what's broken once you get past those 90 days. I would say once you get past 30 days, because even that would be hard, 1 month. That's a challenge because we're so used to doing something, and the mind only recognizes what it's comfortable with, right? Your subconscious. So, in a sense, your subconscious tries to block what progress you want to make because, again, your mind is wired. And, so if you don't work on your ST, I want to share this. If you don't work on your ST, if it doesn't align with what you want, you will decline. I talked about this some time ago, mind mouth power connection. Most people have mind mouth power going in reverse, right? Very quickly. After a while, that pattern's building. So now you're wanting to go forward, right? Mind mouth power forward. Well, yeah, it's kind of like it's rusty. You can hear like if you ever hear the train moving along, right? And then it gets, and then man, that thing, you get, you'll know what I'm talking about. It's almost impossible to stop. You can't stop a train. And that figurative mindset that we have to have, align or Jim, most people say, well, I want to do, I'm going to. Okay, looks like I'm going to. Yet, if you're self-taught, because you can say nice things in front of others, right? You can say beautiful things, but then when you're in front of the mirror, if you're taught line, you will decline. Your self-talk is a powerful tool. It's a gift from the maker. I believe that 95, maybe 98% of the people are not using it effectively because for whatever reason, we grew up in a terrible situation. We're stuck with alcohol, we're stuck with drugs, and we're not really paying attention to this thing called ST. I guarantee that once you start really focusing on your self-talk, it's going to make the difference in your life, right? You got to decide, what are you going to decide on? It's broken. Somebody else can tell you, the psychiatrist, your counselor, your spouse. Spouses are good at that, right? But you know yourself better than anybody else. I was talking to my sister about this, being with me here from Connecticut. And, we're going to get ready to lay my dad's remains because his soul, his spirit is gone. All we have is what's left. We're going to put that in a beautiful casket on Tuesday, Lord willing. And put it in the ground, you know? So if you're not working on your ST, we're gonna get ready to stop. Well, we got a few minutes. We're gonna look at this thing. What is this phenomenon? Why is it so important that we really need to focus on self-talk? And I've shared this many times before. I've talked about self-talk, but of course, this is a different podcast. But podcast 190. Once again, I want to shout out to LinkedIn. Thank you for watching. Facebook. Yes, we're going to begin to close and see how we could, you may have to go back to the shack, if you will, right? Get back to the shack. But I say this all the time, that your good life is going to come out of a good series of good, constant, positive reminders. I'm going to say it again. Your good life is going to come out of a good series of good, constant, positive reminders. And again, your brain's going to train you. And you might not like what the training is going to be, because that training, it flows in behavior. We'll continue to live in that brokenness, right? We want to fix what's broken, if that makes sense. All right. Go ahead, Jim. We're going to finish up pretty soon here, within a few minutes, because time's going by really quick. And I appreciate all of you that are sharing. I just hope that you're taking notes. You know, I stopped free coaching. And one of the reasons is because I would hear folks say this and other thing, and then after they get off the coaching call, that's the time they're motivated and inspired. That's the time to take action. You're not going to take action when you feel down and out, right? You're comfortable, man. You're not going to get up. It's like the football game. You watch the football. You're comfortable, man. You're kicking back. You got beer or whatever, popcorn. Let somebody get in front of you in that baseball game while you're comfortable, man. And there's people that have been killed. I imagine, I've probably never heard of it, but I imagine there's been people that have been killed because they interrupted the comfort zone of somebody watching a football game or some other program. You mess with somebody when they're in the comfort zone, in that sense, motivated. You want to get them inspired. That's where your mind works, right? Your mind works when you're inspired, when you're motivated. That's the time to take action, as Jim said earlier. Now is the time to take action. While you're in this program, you should be writing some ideas, writing some steps, anchors for you to fix what is broken.
Yeah, Santos.
So you need tools, right? You need to go back to the shack. Go ahead, Jim.
I think, when you're talking about self-talk, I think probably one of the most important self-talk that we can talk to ourselves is to say, I am a disciplined person. I am a disciplined person. I can do the things that I need to do at the right time and the right way to get the job done. I'm a disciplined person. I can do the things necessary. And I guess, Jim Rohn talks about getting excited about doing the necessary things. Discipline is the only way we can get ourselves to a better level, I believe. Discipline. Sometimes that word doesn't sound that good, but we can change our frame of mind and say, you know what, I am excited that I have the ability.
Kind of reminds us of the military.
Yes, and doing the things that.
Doesn't that feel good when you say that to yourself?
Yeah.
It feels.
Yeah.
That to you. It's like it releases. What is it? It releases chemicals. Some people were. I was kind of. I've been about this before my father passed away, and I didn't mean to interrupt you, Jim. I'll give you the floor, but I've gotten used to telling myself I'm going to make every day super fantastic, terrific, and over the top. And then I would think about it, and I say, well, man, what Santos? Are you going to be able to say that when times go bad? What if you have a death in the family? Can you still say that? It's a matter of choice. People have asked me, how are you doing? I'm working on super fantastic, terrific, and over the top in spite of and because of. Well, you should be grieving. I am grieving, but that doesn't mean that I got to walk with a frown and just say, oh, man, I lost my dad, and well, I believe he's in a better place. But what really keeps me going is, I would say, the grace of the Almighty and the ability to use these power words, things that I talk about that have helped me come out of the dark cave. And one of them in that power phrase, I'm going to make every day, regardless. I'm going to make the day. I'm going to make my day super fantastic, terrific, and over the top, in spite of and because of. That's all part of my self talk. And I do, Jim, like you said in the morning, I do a lot of self talk on myself, man, because sometimes I feel like things are still broken. What do I do? Do I focus on what's broken? No, man, I'm going to focus on mind, mouth, power congruency. That's where I draw my strength from, is from making sure that my thoughts align with what I'm saying. Doesn't matter what other people think of me. They may think, well, you think you're better than us. You think you're, whatever. It doesn't matter. What matters is when I look in the mirror, what I tell myself. And by my self talk, I've gotten myself to do a lot of things that I was afraid of. So I highly recommend this tool. Highly recommend it.
Yeah, it's a discipline there,
Go ahead,
Santos.
Jim.
I mean, yeah, it's a discipline. I mean, you can see the benefits of a discipline, multiple rewards. I mean, I was walking towards Walmart to get some cat food today. It was rainy. I was trying to recover through COVID, and I was saying, where's strength? Is strength in the body or is strength in the mind? Why don't I say, I am strong. I am strong. I have power. I'm powerful. You know, and all of a sudden, you have these feelings going through your body, right? So strength is not really, you know, physical. It's actually up here. And we can go and tell ourselves that we are powerful, we are strong, we are disciplined. And we keep on saying those things and we act accordingly, you know? And that's key. Even if you fall down, you
Exactly.
keep on saying it and you do it. No one's perfect. We're not perfect. We make mistakes, but we keep on saying it until the activity, follows those words that we tell ourselves.
Yeah.
And
It's
like you said,
alignment.
30
Yeah.
days, 90 days, you keep on doing it, right? And man, you start seeing things change inside you, man. Seeing
Yeah.
your
You,
like
you
back.
see powerful changes. I remember when I started studying self talk, I had no idea what that was. And I've been studying it, looking at it, going through videos, reading books. Napoleon Hill, um, Zig Ziglar, Anthony Robbins, all of these individuals talk about that personal self-talk. It's one of the greatest tools. Um, I listened to a Harry Carpenter. I think he passed away. I have a video in my playlist. It's about a 45-minute video. Harry Carpenter is being interviewed by a young lady, African American lady. I remember listening to that video numerous times because I didn't quite understand the power of my own self talk until I began to experience the changes and my thoughts were lining up with what I was saying. And now I find myself when I get fears or when I get things that are tough, it's easy for me to use my self talk and it begins to turn it around immediately. It's pretty amazing when you use that tool. You got to have a blueprint. The blueprint is what you design in your mind, what you think about. Man, I want this thing, right? Then you say, I must have this thing. Instead of saying, well, I'm going to do this. No, I must do this. It changes the dynamic of how you live and how you think. I must versus I want to do this. I think I need to do this, or I'm going to do. No, I must do this. I must overcome this. And then your mind begins to work better, right? You get that mind mouth power. You get that rusty wheel going forward. And it's pretty amazing what begins to happen. We have all kinds of tools that I talk about: journaling, mirror talks, going for a walk, drinking healthy water, praying, reading books. I enjoy reading the Bible, the King James Bible. And all of those things contribute to my lifestyle. Of course, it takes time. It takes time. It takes effort. And in some cases, it takes money. You can learn from yourself. It may take you a lifetime. Or you can learn from somebody else within hours by listening to their experience. Sometimes that costs money. That's why I said I don't do free coaching anymore. If anyone wants to do a coaching session with me, unfortunately, there's going to be some skin in the game financially. Why? Because that holds you accountable. That's going to make that portion of time more valuable for you, right? You're going to do something about it if you pay. Generally, if you pay for what we get free, that's why Earl Nightingale talked about the gift of the power of the mind. It came free with when we were born, right? We didn't have to pay for the mind, and that's the reason we take it for granted. But if you have to pay for your mind, so now we have to pay for it, right? We have to take time, we have to discipline because we've had it going in the wrong direction and we've taken it for granted. If you're drinking alcohol, if you're gambling, if you're doing drugs, you've taken your mind, you've taken yourself for granted. And Jim was talking about self-respect. The highest form of self-respect, or loving yourself. The highest form of loving yourself is respecting yourself. Drawing the line in sand, the water washes that away. But drawing a line in cement, where you look at, man, I put a line in cement. I must keep. Anyways, I'm going overboard here with my talk, and we're coming to the very end here. We're going to do a little bit of a call to action. So, Jim, I'm going to give you go ahead and share. I know you've got some good thoughts rolling around in your head there. I can see them.
Yeah, I mean, if you really think about your life and things that are broken, right? We had the discipline of doing all the things that were incorrect in our lives, right? So if that's the case, we have the ability or the discipline to make the corrections in order for us to turn our lives around. I mean, we have the ability. We have the ability. And I think that's something that we should get excited about. We
Yeah.
had that choice. We have the ability to make wrong decisions, but now we can start, you know, taking the same discipline and making the correct decisions. Um, it's you were talking about a choice. It's a choice, and you know, life is moving quick, and it's time to get started. Because I mean, we already had half a month gone, right, out of this year. It's gone.
Yeah.
Where
Yeah.
are we right now? 2023 is burning up. So we have to think. Right now, what are we gonna do? What do we want to do? Where do we want to be? What do we want to have? Right? How do we want to have our 2023 end? You know?
Or begin right now, because we're still at the beginning, but we are fast approaching 24. And before we know it, we're going to be 6 months down the line. And are you carrying the same luggage that you were carrying? I remember hearing the story about a man carrying a bag of rocks. He had a sack. Actually, he had a sack, and it was real heavy. And he didn't want to give that thing up, and he was just dragging it, through life, leaving skid marks, if you will, on the road, right? And then someone shows up with this little package, and hey, I'll trade you for that sack that you got. Well, the guy said no. It took him a couple of times. I'm kind of making this up also here. So, figuratively speaking, the guy dragging the heavy sack thought he had something good, man, but that thing's tearing him up. And here this guy shows up with a little box. Finally, the guy said, yeah, you know what, I'll trade you. I don't know what's in that bag, but when he poured it out, it was just boulders. So here's this guy carrying boulders most of his life. Broken shoulder, back probably hurting, sweating to death. And the guy shows up with a little gift. And what was in that gift was a great blessing. It was very light. It had good things in it, whatever it was. Maybe it was money. some good food, and he made the trade, and his shoulders, he felt the relief. He felt the relief. And sometimes we don't, that's what we're doing. We're carrying those rocks, man, and we don't want to give them up, man. The mind. But when you give up that sack of rocks for the little gift of life and or discipline, self-talk, if you will. Maybe there's, self-study or the easy steps, 1, 2, 3 for self-talk, so you can change your life, or whatever. Maybe it was a good pair of shoes that made it lighter for him to walk. I'm sure you get the gist of my figurative story here. By the way, Wig 475, thank you for being with us tonight. We're coming to the end of the close here. I'm going to give here, Jim, go ahead and share. We're going to come to the close here. By the way, we are going to be here next Sunday, right? We're going to prepare. Next Sunday, we're going to do something a little bit different. I'm not going to really have an agenda, but I'm going to take your questions. So Jim and I will look at questions that you have and really focus on those questions. Hopefully we'll be able to get a lot of questions and answers out to you. We're going to work with you, right? Again, we're not here to just give you the answers, because most likely you're not going to take that and run with it. But if you cooperate with me and Jim and you come up with an answer, the likelihood that you'll run with that is higher than just taking my ideas, right? What I know works for me, I share it. I try to share it. But you're a different person. You're different caliber. You've got different wisdom. You've got different upbringing. You've got different problems and challenges than I do. So it's always best for you to get around the campfire and come up with your own ideas that are motivated by listening to others that are overcoming, if that makes sense. So we're going to be here again Sunday, 7:30, 7:05 Pacific Standard Time. Lord willing, that will be episode 190. So soldier rise, no demise, no shame, lest you be lame, right? This is to your blame. So play the smart game. Go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, I like the story that you told. I mean that could be their motivating, push. Really, what are we carrying on in our lives that's weighing us down? I mean, if you think about it, it's like, carrying around anxiety, fear, resentment, anger, negativity, all these kinds of things. Mishandling money. Big weights that we're dragging throughout life. And just imagine being free, from these negative weights that we've been just dragging around in our life. It's like I don't want to drag this stuff around anymore. You know, it's it's not a life. It's not a life. So we can decide. You know what? I don't want any more of this. I don't want any more of this. So now you start thinking, okay, what do I need to do? What kind of plan can I make? Who do I need to hear? What do I need to write down? What do I need to listen to? What do I need to start doing starting today, right? And then just imagine, dumping those stupid rocks out of that sack one day at a time, man. One day at a time, freeing yourself from these burdens, And man, just imagine, man, at the end of the year, not carrying around that sack of rocks, man. Wow. I tell you, that's motivating, man. If we can see that, we will pay the price, right? We will pay the price if we can see that. If we can see that, it's like we'll do it every day, man.
We must pay the price. We must pay the price. So, I encourage to study self-talk. What is it? How will it help you? Are you aware of your self-talk and how it is devastating, right? It's like carrying a big bag of boulders and you don't even know what's in the boulders, what's in the bag. If you don't align, mind, mouth, power, congruency, if you don't align, you will decline. That's all I have to say, folks. Ladies and gentlemen, community members, soldiers in the making, guests, I will be back here on Sunday. Lord willing, Jim will be with us. And listen, if you need if you need a coach in your life, if you need the communities here, it's available. But if you need to go beyond that, if you want to grow faster, if you want to get there faster, right? Who else can you get next to? Who else can you personally get next to than someone that's already doing it that can help the educational curve uh, or make that journey a lot shorter for you. So I'm here. I'm available. I'm sure Coach Jim could be available. I don't think he's going to do things for free, but you can always reach out to me and we can make some things happen. Invest in yourself, friend. Invest. It doesn't matter whether it costs you $100 or 125 or 150. That time that you invest in yourself is going to bring value and it will multiply. That 150 or 125 could easily turn into 250 for you in 2 months or even a month or even a few days. So, with that said, I want to thank all of you guys for being here. And remember, any little bit that you can contribute to help keep this mission going forward, this podcast, because it does cost money to run this podcast every Sunday. Um, all right. So, Gore, thank you for being here. Jim, thank you for your presence. Thanks, Jim and Santos. I'll be taking those great words off the bed as it's good time there. 4 a.m. Wow. My hat's to you. Terrence, there we go. Thank you for being here. Laura, I appreciate you. Stay safe on the roadways there. Sumaya, thank you for hanging out. I won't go back. I must not go back. I must have a plan, right? The Rock from Brockton, thank you for hanging out with us. Wig, did I get Wig? 470, 475. That's kind of interesting. I walked the dog. And we got the Rock from Brockton here. Let me see. Jane, was it James? Okay, let me see who else. Laura, Race. Thank you for staying in the race, the journey, the new journey. Gabino, thank you for hanging out. I hope you're taking some notes, friend, because I know that you're in a battle. I'm not going to make little of it, but I believe that if you work on your self talk, you're going to notice a big difference, a huge, huge difference. And who else? And those of you watching via Facebook, thank you for hanging out. LinkedIn, thank you for hanging out. Appreciate your presence and energy. And um, that is it, right? Those are the ones that were interacting with us. And anybody else? Oh, Mark, there's Mark. Thank you for hanging out, Mark. I appreciate your donations also. And Carr, thank you for hanging out with us. We'll see you next Sunday. Take notes. And then there's Jim. Hey, Jim. Thank you for hanging out, Coach Jim, and Soldier of Self Mastery here. Anything else you want to leave behind, Jim, before we close the doors?
I just wish everyone, appreciate every day. Wake up and say, "Thank God for another day to improve." So just keep that in
Exactly.
mind.
All right. So my next episode, on the top, on the inside.
Take care.
Peace
Have
through
a great
strength.
week.
Thanks, Jim.
Take care.
Good night, everyone. We'll see you next Sunday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. 7:05.